So thanks everyone for joining us today for the risk management program. And today we have livestock. So we are joined by Jody Reyer of Reyer Farms. We're so elated to have him today. I've been knowing him for a while and just know that he's doing spectacular things on his land. And we wanted to bring him here today to share his backstory, how he got into farming, and then what type of animals he's utilizing for his farm business. And then we're going to move right into risk management. So we are on Zoom. We're doing virtual workshops at this time, but Jody is going to help us possibly do like a virtual farm tour where we can really envision what is going on his land and the risks that he has to deal with every day and how he mitigates those risks when he have visitors on the land and stuff. So Jody, thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm gonna hand it to you to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Miss Felicia. My name is Jody Reyer. The picture that you see on the screen to my right is my lovely bride, Brittany. And under my left arm is my oldest daughter, Anna. The little redhead in the middle, her name is Ava. We call her Tater. And then we have little Gus down there. And then we have a +1. My wife is just a few weeks away from delivering our 4th child. We don't have a name for him yet, but we just call him Baby Earl. And we are a working farm. This is what we do day in and day out. We are a family farm. Everybody has their own responsibilities, top to bottom, day in and day out, and that's what we do. And several years ago, I decided that I would no longer apologize for being a farmer or a rancher. So today, there's a lot of things that are unpopular. What I've decided to do is we're just going to tell the truth all the time. We're going to work as hard as we can, and we're going to do our job. And that entails a lot of things that are somewhat uncomfortable. Like I said, we're a family farm. This picture was taken about 2 years ago, and this is what the kids refer to as Cath Napkin. This is one of their favorite activities. So when we have a bull calf born that we know is destined to go into the beef program, we'll go and we'll catch that little calf when he's very young, within a day. Sometimes they're still wet. We'll put him in the back of the gator and run him away from mama for just a minute. And we'll castrate that bull calf, tag him, write down his information. By doing this, we're setting our goal about the direction that we want to go. And here's those responsibilities. As you see, all 3 kids are with me. Mama's taking the picture. Now, at the time, Anna was 9. I think Ava was 4. Gus is 3. And the only reason Gus is not helping is, if you'll look, he's not wearing any shoes. Somehow or another, he got into this scenario without any shoes. And that's the way we find ourselves in a lot of things on the farm, is we're in a position that we weren't fully planned to be yet. We didn't have everything just right. So mitigating risk is a lot about trying to implement that plan. The risks are unavoidable. The risk exists all the time. If you look at these 2 young ladies here, you see that little arm grabbing that leg, and I'm holding it. But that leg's fixing to become Ava's responsibility. Anna has her own responsibility. If Anna lets go of her leg, Ava's going to get kicked. If Ava lets go of her leg, Anna's going to get kicked. So everything that we do and our responsibility, it has consequences, it has merit, it has importance. What we do, we need to take it serious. We need to devote the due diligence to do it right. Now, the end result is we want to raise cattle, not just any cattle. We raise PCRBA registered Piney Woods cattle. They are a native breed of cattle, probably depends on who you want to argue with, the oldest breed of cattle in the United States. They're very hardy. They work good in our environment. I enjoy raising them. So this is the core focus of our operation, is right here. a healthy cow, producing a calf on healthy pastures, and doing it profitably. But to do that, it doesn't just happen. We had to have goals. You have to have a revenue stream. And for Reyer Farms, most of our revenue is made off the sale of retail beef. So everything that we do is focused on to making a better beef product. Everybody wants to claim that they have the best beef. Hey, my direction was I'll just be better. That way, anytime I meet up with the best, I can just say, well, I'm better. So that was my goal. This is our best-selling steak. This is what we refer to as the Cowboy Ribeye. These are geared and price pointed to go to the average weekend griller, to the home, but the quality that we shoot for is restaurant quality. We want those steaks to be a benchmark. In addition to raising beef, I also do a lot of stuff like what we're doing today, where I'll go out, I'll consult, I'll help people. Anytime you share knowledge, you've turned it into a tool. Anytime you withhold it, you've turned it into a weapon. So anytime I can go out there and I can help other piney woods breeders, other cattlemen, anybody progress what they're trying to do, it will always help me out too. A rising tide will lift all ships. So the time that I get to spend with other people, a lot of times they think that I've gone there to help them, but I always learn something there. We always need to be constantly improving. The best way to find yourself prepared and able to handle a situation is to pretty much know what you will do when you get to that situation. And those core principles are just foundation building blocks. If you learn a principle, you can build on it and keep progressing and building those. I'm sorry, the things are coming on my screen. But you can keep taking those principles and building on them, and before long, you can find yourself in a situation where you've never been before, but you can take the principles that you've already got in your toolbox and apply those to be successful in those situations. Now, I also design, build, fabricate working facilities. In livestock, a lot of our risk happens in these working facilities. I do several of these a year. This is a very small pen. It's not 30 foot. It was designed for a small family farm to be able to safely work their stock with their kids. If you'll look, there's a 3 foot wide alley that we called the kids zone. So this whole thing was to gear in that next generation, to get them involved. Everything that I do and everything that you're going to hear today is not earth-shattering or groundbreaking. I don't have a corner on the market of this knowledge. It's not the only way to do it. It's the way that I do it. There are a whole lot of ways to do a whole lot of different things. There are only a few things in life that there's only one way. Now, if you get those wrong, there's hell to pay. But everything else, there's some wiggle room for you to discover, for you to challenge yourself, for you to figure out something that works for your unique situation. So what I've done with this workshop, with this pen design, with when I go and talk, with what we do with our beef, is all based off of experience. A lot of people tell you that experience is the best teacher. My daddy says it may not be the best, but it's always the most expensive. And when I get hired out to do day work, which is when people call and I'll go work cattle, I'll do various things, I get to see the mistakes. And that's where I learn. You can always learn how to do something, but you can learn a whole lot by what not to do. So this right here is a post. It's a non-offensive post, and I may put it on Facebook later. But we all have skills. wherever we are, we have skills that we need to use and apply. Before I got into this 10 years ago, I was in construction and welding. That was my background. I know how to weld. But knowing how to weld does not make or break me at Livestock. It helps, but it's not something that you absolutely must know. So I don't want you to look at anything, whether it be a steel pen, whether it be a vehicle or anything in life, in what you're trying to do, and say, this right here is a hurdle that's keeping me from doing what I want to do, to keep me from achieving my goal. That right there is the most negative, toxic thing that you can do in your whole life as far as achieving your goal, is to sit there and find a reason of why you can't. If you're looking for a reason why you can't, you'll always find one. At the end of the day, my goal is to raise those calves healthy. But I need to do it in a manner that keeps me smiling, my kids safe, our bills paid. And that is a big key to that risk mitigation. If I'm not watching, if I'm not looking, if I'm not seeing where the pitfalls are, that's when we're going to have trouble. A lot of what you're going to hear today is when I didn't see those pitfalls, when I got in trouble, when that smile was not on my face and that calf wasn't so healthy. So you want some cows. I love cows. I think about cows from the time I get up to the time I go to bed. Here is something you always need to remember in the livestock business. Never give up on your stupid dreams. This is the only picture that's not mine. It's the truest thing I've ever seen on social media. I don't know who that guy is, but I know exactly how he feels. You're out there, you're doing the best that you can. He probably had 10 other things he needed to do, but he's covered in mud, political promises, and cold water. All while the time that those cows are staring at him saying, we want some water. It doesn't matter what's going on in life. It doesn't matter about anything else other than you got a job to do. So everybody wants those pretty calves. This calf right here, her name is Miss Ginny Wine. She's one of the prettiest calves I've ever raised. She's flashy. She's pretty. She makes this beautiful Kodak picture. You see that in a magazine, and boy, howdy, it's easy. We're going to get us a hobby farm. We're going to get us a homestead. We're going to live off the land. All these things that tell you how good it is and how you can do it are bull. That's Andy. Andy's here to remind us that there's a lot of bull out there. Andy's a lot of bull, and there's a lot of bull that comes through. And anything I tell you today, I encourage you to vet it. Do your own due diligence to find out if I told you the truth or if I fed you a line of warm sunshine. Now, if anybody thinks I fed you a line of warm sunshine, please call me. My number is 601-906-1185, because that is not my intention today. My intention today is for us to get better, not feel better. What we want is a good cow. We want some good milk. We want some good meat. We want a good calf. We want good pastures. These are our goals that we're trying to do. And then we pick the most obstinate, hard-headed, dumb, slab-sided, wall-eyed creature there ever was to try to do it. If you've never worked cattle, do it 1 or 2 times and you'll realize why we eat them. They don't care. When we say we want a good cow, she says, I want a pretty hide. When we say we want good milk, the calf says, I want big bones. When we say we want a good calf, mama says, hey, I just want to eat. All that cow thinks about is eat, 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 eat. It's a very self-serving agenda that they have. So we have all these risks. We have all these things that we're having to deal with, but that cow's number one priority in life is eat, 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 eat. A cow does not care who's in the White House. A cow does not care what's going on in other countries. A cow doesn't care about trade agreements. A cow doesn't care if you're sick. A cow doesn't care if you can't pay your electricity bill. All that cow thinks about, cares about, is eating. That's it. These are not benevolent creatures. Their goal in life is not to help you or make your life better. As animal husbandry practices have improved, we forgot the fact that the cows, the sheep, the pigs, the chickens, they don't care. We've tried to place human traits on animals. It doesn't work. You have to be in charge. You have to be the alpha. The second you relinquish your control over running that herd, that's when you're in trouble. This calf is not a lap dog. This is what we want. Healthy pasture, healthy cows. This picture I use as the border on our website. That's what I want my customers to see. But when I look at this picture, this is what I see. The first thing I do to mitigate my risk is I classify everything. Equality in livestock does not exist. All things are not created equal. All things don't perform the same. You got winners and you got losers. Losers cost you money. Losers create risky situations. Losers will hurt you in more ways than one. I got 1, 2s, and 3s. Typically, you're going to have a bell curve. Your number ones would be your top cattle. Your number 2s are your average. They ought to be the biggest portion of that range. Your number 3s ought to be your losers. I heard somebody say, don't say that. You're projecting negative energy on that. They're projecting negative energy in my life. Losers cost money, time, effort. Everything that you put into a loser animal, you compounded your loss by what you were not able to put into something that was productive. Now, this is not a bell curve picture. It took me a long time to go through there and zoom in and identify every one of those cows that you have an assigned 1, 2, or 3. You have more 1s in this picture than you have anything. The reason is this is my breeding herd. If you don't have 1s in your breeding herd, you're doing it wrong. Don't breed bad stock. It's not going to help. In the livestock business, you've got to be hard on your stock because they don't care. They're not going to come to you and say, you know, Jody, I didn't have that calf last year and I feel real bad about that. That cost you a lot of money. So I'm going to have twins this year. It's never going to happen. If it does, you call and let me know. Those mistakes that you made have a compounding effect. And the time between those mistakes is long. You have to support that whole operation and live through those mistakes. My daddy tells a story about decisions, and he likens decisions to a grain of corn. And you can take that and you can plant that decision, and if it's good, it's going to turn into good. If you plant corn, you're going to get corn. You're not going to get tomatoes out of corn seed. If you plant a bad seed, you're going to get bad. The problem is you plant 1 grain of corn and you're going to get 2 ears that are full of how many grains of corn. There's a multiplying effect. It is the law of multiplication. You do good, You reap good, multiply it. You do bad, you're going to reap bad, multiply it. Now, this picture is one of my favorite pictures in this whole thing because they lined up almost exactly like I would have placed them. The cow in the far is a number 3. She no longer lives here. She doesn't have a job. The cow in the middle is a number 2. And the cow you see in the front is a number 1. Now, it's 12 months between those hops. That's really hard to do that. If I would have got rid of that cow in the background a year sooner, my hop would have been a whole lot more productive the second year and the third year, because this only represents one calf harvest. So you have 3 cows, but they represent 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 9 calves. If every one of those hops is a year. So when you've done that, that means that almost, it would be 33% of your calf crop was a loser. The compounding effect adds up. This is my son, Gus. We're going to farm. He's ready, ain't he? He's on his tractor. This is how a lot of us are when we start. We get on our tractor, we got our overalls, we got our boots, we're ready to storm the gates of hell with a water pistol. We're going to grow everything that's green, and we're going to raise it, and we're going to do it. The only problem is we just like Gus. We own a tractor that ain't got no engine. If it had an engine, you don't have nothing behind it to pull or do no work. All he's really doing is sitting on that tractor taking a pretty picture. He don't have his foot on the pedals, which would make it go. And most importantly, his left leg is under his right leg, which means if it was a real tractor, it's not on the clutch. So he has no brakes. He has no way to change gears. The only thing he can do is steer an uncontrollable vehicle or a vehicle that's not going anywhere. Sadly, this is the state of most people that are in the livestock business, in the vegetable business, and unfortunately, you can't always come back and start back good. Sometimes you make those decisions and it just does not get any better. You've exhausted your resources and you don't have the time, the energy, the money, anything to go back and get back on track. So right here where we are today, we need to get on track. Raising livestock has 12 months of problems, if not more. I declare, today is Thursday. It feels like it's Tuesday of next week. Everybody wants to live on a farm. Everybody wants that American Gothic picture, that lifestyle. Unfortunately, it's not a lifestyle, it's a life. It's day in, it's day out. Those problems are not going away. Remember, the cow does not care. This picture, although it looks good because there were hours and hours and hours and weeks and months of money, sweat, and work. This farm is an hour and 15 minutes away from our headquarters. My daddy spent countless hours out there with a bulldozer, a tractor, and a side-by-side picking up sticks and burning piles, because where these cows are standing used to be pine trees that were just a few months away from being clear cut into saw logs before a tornado laid them on the ground and ruined every tree. These cows that are on this ground right now were in the bellies of mamas, compounding on the tornado. We lost 75% of our grazing land that year. And those cows that you're seeing right here, their mamas, when they were gestating, these that you see, wintered on this property on bulldozer tracks. Life is tough. It happens. Sometimes it's uncontrollable. Sometimes we can't back it up. Sometimes you just got to put your head down and bear through it. Now, fast forward a year, we acquired some more land. Ironically, the land that we lost. So here's number 53 and his mama. That's one of the best cows I own, and that's a top shelf calf. Grass is tall, the sun is bright. It was a beautiful day. Life is good. There's 12 months of problems, y'all. Here's 53 this year. The sun is not warm. Mama's not there with milk. The ground is froze when the picture was taken, but it was knee-deep mud just 12 hours before. The idyllic picture that you see with livestock is just a picture. There's going to be blood, there's going to be sweat, there's going to be tears. Little calves that are born in weather like this come out wet. When it's just cold, frostbite will get their ears and their ears will fall off. There ain't nothing that you can do to mitigate the weather. You can't. A good mama, and you hope for the best, and you pray. You can't fight the weather. You just do the best you can with it. These cows, although they got ice on their back, this is a harsh, harsh day. But they ate, they nursed their babies, and they survived. I didn't do anything. I made sure that they had feed. I made sure that they had water. I made sure that they had mineral. I did everything that I could do, but I couldn't do anything about the weather. Now, you may be saying to yourself, well, maybe I don't want to do this. This is how I see myself a lot of days. Here's the thing, y'all. When you don't know what to do, when your back's up against the wall and you feel like you're coming and going, you can't quit. Those cows don't care. They want to eat. You have a responsibility to them. But you say, well, I really just want to raise those pretty calves, and I'm going to do this, and I've got a plan. Maybe so. But you're still going to have problems if you're on the cow-calf side. Well, I'm just going to get some feeders, and I'm going to raise steers, and I'm going to do them into beef. Well, if the cow-calf side, if you thought it was hard, the feeder side is hard compounded 12 times. Everybody works hard. Whatever your job is, it's your job, and you come home tired. You start feeding cattle trying to make a retail, wholesale, custom beef product, get ready to work 3 times as hard as you ever have. There are no days off. To get this steak, it takes commitment. It takes a lot of hard work, a lot of planning, and you got to know when to allocate your assets and where to do it. Now, that center portion that's in the yellow, that's called your ribeye loin. This would be considered a choice ribeye. It has enough surface area to hit the minimum BQA standards for choice. That top in the blue is called your spinalis, or as I like to call it, the best part. Now, this is what my customers want, but not all of them understand what it takes to get it there. To get this picture here, you had to think about it and put everything in motion 3 years before this moment. It does not just happen. Now, you can mitigate some of that by saying, well, I don't want to take that responsibility. I'm going to just buy it from somebody else. Anything that you delegate, anything that you outsource, anything that you don't do yourself, you have lost control of. There's no way for you to manage or mitigate the risk that you assume. Well, it's cold. It's wet. I don't think I'm going to go out there today. Cows don't care. They look for ways to ruin your day. This picture was taken because 2 calves somehow worked their way under a fence and got trapped on the other side of a swollen ditch because all that snow and all that ice and all the rain was now melting and filling up that ditch. Well, guess what? If you leave the calves on the other side of the ditch, chances are they're going to die. So, you know, I thought about calling hobby farmers or the Livestock Conservancy or any of these other people and say, hey, I got these calves over here on the ditch. Come get them for me. But then I realized they ain't coming. Whose responsibility is it to go get them calves on the ditch? Mine. Who's going to get their feet wet getting their calves? Me. Well, the tractor's stuck. You know what? Don't matter. I've stuck a lot of equipment in my life, but this is one of the worst I've ever stuck a tractor. Now, I bought myself some time because on the other side of that loader, you can see some bovine booties. And they're huddled around a hay bale that I was trying to feed them. And I was able to push it off of the spear and away from the tractor just far enough that I could start getting that tractor out. You're going to have problems. I hear all these people talk about moisture retention, preparing for a drought. I've used this picture on several of these occasions saying moisture retention is not my problem. I don't know where they come up with these problems. I think they come up with a solution that's readily available and then they describe a problem. In the middle of the winter, it's muddy. Cows don't care. Now, I had planned for this. All up in the rims of that tractor is $600 worth of railroad slag that I put out there to make sure that I could get in and out of that gate. But it didn't work. So, what do? You give up, you quit, you go home. Go put your feet up. You can't. The cows got to eat. Well, y'all have heard the term holy cow? I'm not for sure, but I'm pretty confident that it was coined because cows like to go to church on Sunday. So they look for a way to get out. And you better hope you got some Baptist cows because Baptist churches are on every corner. If they're Catholic cows, they're going to town. And you got problems. They don't care that you just broke your $65 pair of fencing pliers. You can't say, okay, y'all, look, I got to go back here and get me another set of pliers, and I'm going to get that wire back up. Y'all, I'm in downtown Lena today so we can have this meeting. Where I was when I broke them pliers, there's no cell phone service. The ground was too wet to start a fire so I could send some smoke signals. There is nobody. Sometimes it just happens. You can't quit. But them cows, they want to go to church. It's always going to happen on a Sunday. Now, they don't care that it's hot as blue blazes. When that sun's shining, you better be out there putting you up some hay. Now, I hear a lot of people say, oh, hay's so bad, blah, blah, blah. Hay is insurance. Hay will save your bacon. Hay will make or break you. So I can take that small hay and use it as a tool to mitigate bad weather, inclement weather. I don't have to worry about getting that tractor stuck so much because I can take that hay and I can put it over my shoulder and I can tote it to those cows. So sometimes with risk management, you have to look at a different way to do the job. You have to employ some different tools. You've employed these different tools and you're looking at alternate ways to solve your problems and remain profitable and competitive. Now, every one of those comes with an opportunity cost. You cannot ride two horses at one time unless you get them both headed in the same direction. If not, you're just going to have a real train wreck on your hands. So when you look at your opportunity cost and you look at the problems you're trying to solve, you want to be sure that you're not causing more problems. All right, so we're going right back to risk management. This picture was taken and I'm working calves and I tore every ligament in my ankle and half of them in my knee. I'm still smiling. All the calves got castrated and worked and branded that day. But I had to come up with some different ways of doing it. A crutch, ironically, is a pretty good sorting stick. But when you're already handicapped to, you got one good leg, you got to approach that situation different because your risk factor has compounded. Now, good stock will always be better than bad stock. Always, always, always. Genetics are 50% of the equation. Nutrition is the other part. Genetics is everything that it can be. Nutrition turns it into what it can be. As farmers, you're always juggling those two things. It doesn't matter if you're talking about the genetics of a tomato or a pig or a chicken or a cow or a corn plant. You're not going to take Glass Gem Indian corn and turn it into Funk's G90. Doesn't work that way. So your good stock is where your money is. This picture right here is a picture of a yellow griffin steer. The man holding the branding iron is named Billy Frank Brown. That SAL brand has been applied to cattle for over 100 years. They can trace their cattle back 14 generations. If you want to know about a stock, you find something that has some longevity. You find something that has a track record. The best way to mitigate bad stock and the risk that are associated with it is find the data that backs up what you bought. Native cattle will always do better. Native cattle always perform better in tough times. 14 generations in the Brown family gave me a cow that was called DeSoto's Tar Pete. Now, Miss DeSoto Tar Pete gave me this cow whose name is June Frost. 14 generations of the Browns family's work with those cattle, compounded on centuries of natural selection, gave me a cow that can stand up to 100% humidity and 110 degrees heat index, and then flip-flop into January to where she's got sickles hanging off of her ears and give me a calf every year. Now, this applies to not only heritage breeds, but also top shelf, what we consider top shelf commercial breeds, Angus, Herefords, Brahman, Simmental, Charolais, all these other breeds, Tamworth, large blacks, Yorkshires. You don't take a breed that was bred to perform in one type of environment and expect it to perform the same way in another type of environment. In the Southeast, we are blessed as seed stock producers in the fact that we have a harsh range. And people will argue that and say, oh, it's not that hard in Mississippi. Everything's green. Yeah, it's green. It just ain't worth nothing. We haven't rained today. All cattle nutrition is derived by dry matter. Water is of little consequence. I can get them water anytime. I need to put nutrients, protein, carbohydrates, fat from their forages. You take any cow that was born and bred and raised in Mississippi, send it out west, it'll blow up to 120 PSI so fast it'll make your head spin, because our cows are used to starving to death with full bellies. You take the same cow from out west and send it to Mississippi, guess what? You're going to unload it off a trailer and it's going to go walk your pastures and look for a place to die. It's not going to get the nutrients that it needs. Native cattle always outperform cattle that are not arranged to the environment. Now, this is something we all like as farmers. We like our trucks and our tractors and our trailers. I can't lie, I love them. Most people are getting in trouble with equipment because they either bought the wrong equipment, they're over-equipped, they're under-equipped. This is a pitfall of risk mitigation. I'm going out here in this picture, and I'm hauling hay in return for getting hay. Now, the only thing in this picture that is appreciating is the land. The truck is depreciating in value. The hay is depreciating in value. The tractor is depreciating. The trailer is depreciating. Even the fuel in the tank is depreciating. Those are not investments. Those are consumables. We utilize consumables to add value to investments. If I don't have the hay, my cows are not going to perform well. If I don't have the truck, I can't move the cows or move the hay. If I don't have the tractor, so forth and so on. The land is the only asset in this picture that is an investment. Everything else is a consumable. Now, it does not mean that you don't need a tractor. I hear a lot of people say, oh, you don't have to have a tractor. You don't have to do that. Where they come up with that, I don't know. A tractor sure does make life easy. You can get away with not having one, but it's a tool that you're going to need eventually. Because if you don't have one, you're going to have to borrow one. And that only lasts so long. but never, ever, ever get into the mindset that we're making an investment. If it does not appreciate, it's not an investment. It's a consumable. It's necessary, but it's like everything else. You have to weigh those costs as far as how to make money off of it and remain profitable. Good health. This is a hot topic right now. As business owners, the world seems to think that we're supposed to be these job creators and we're supposed to solve people's problems. If I can find a piece of equipment to replace a person, I'm going to replace me a person every time. A lot of people talk about my staff, and some people hear that as, oh, that's their help. When I hear that, I think they got a bad infection. Family is the best help that you can get because they have a vested interest in what you're doing. It's hard to pay somebody to come in and care about what you're doing. Anything that you outsource, anything that you delegate, you've lost control over. Does not matter how you micromanage, how good of a boss you are, how much you pay, doesn't matter. They're not you. They don't care like you do. And they're there for sundown and payday. Period. That's all I'm going to say about help. What's really good is finding you a network of people that you can trust. I took this picture from inside a stock trailer that I was welding the floors back together in. The gentleman in there talking to my son, his name is Buddy D. Johnston. He is 92 years old. There's a wealth of wisdom underneath that cowboy hat to the likes that few have ever known. I count it as a tremendous blessing the time that my son got to talk to him. I don't know what they were talking about. But find a network of people that you can trust that have a vested interest in what's good for you and build those relationships. A relationship like that based off of common goals and achieving them is worth more than money in the bank. All right, so we've mitigated some risk and we've kind of seen some of these pitfalls, and you're still here. You haven't given up on having those cows. Now what? What are we going to do now? We want that pretty mama cow and that picture right there. Boy, that just makes my heart smile right there. Manage, 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 manage. I don't know how many times I wrote it, but it's not enough. And then once you get through that, think about it some more. A dull pencil is better for you than a college degree. Write it down. One thing that we've lost in this technology is we don't keep records like we used to. This weekend, I went to Washington on the Brazos and visited the historic Barrington Plantation, which they've constructed back from the journals of those people that worked that land. They know what they ate for supper because they wrote it down. Now, I know that everybody may have posted your meal on Facebook, but it's not the same. When they wrote that they had bacon, they knew that bacon was from this hog that they pulled off this part of the range, and it was better than the hog that they had last year because the acorn crop was better. The acorn crop was better because the rain was better. They kept records of everything. That type of record keeping is irreplaceable. Never discount the dull pencil. Never discount the ability to write it down. If you look back in this record, this is 3 years ago. Sire ID, Bull G. If you look at his calving intervals, he had one at 410, then 413, 415, 415. I think he's a pretty good bull. He's doing his job. But I don't know that unless I write it down, because he's not going to come to me and say, hey, boss, I got all them cows. I got 5 yesterday. He doesn't care about that. In his mind, he says, I got to breed them cows, and he's going to breed them. But his goal is to go back and eat. He's not there to run your farm. It's my job to run my farm, not his. Now, Rojo. This little guy right here is a big dream. Rojo come off the finest bull we ever raised. Unfortunately, I had to put his daddy down. He had an accident. We're going to take a moment of silence for my mistakes. When you realize that you got the best you've ever done, you need to do the best you can for them. In his daddy's case, his name was Cookie's Monster. There was nothing I could do for him. It was just an unfortunate event, but I could have been a better manager and had his semen collected. When you know you got something good, do what you can to preserve it. So once I had to put Monster down, I was forced to make some really good, fast decisions. And good and fast and cheap, you can pick any two, and that's what you can have, but you can't have all 3. I chose Rojo. He was the best out of the group. Rojo's been a good bull. This is now his 2nd year in rotation. Rojo represents a good plan poorly implemented. I'm not reaping all the benefits that I could have because I failed to manage the risk that were involved. Rojo was standing in pretty pasture. He's actually standing in the same pasture that these cows are. Now, there are several different theories. There's more than one way to skin the cat. I'm telling you my way. You can spend a lot of money on fertility. A lot of money. Fertilizer prices are going through the roof. I don't care if you're buying it off the barge at the river or if you're getting chicken litter. It's high. So 3 years ago, I decided that either A, I can fertilize the pasture, or B, I can manage it better. So if I fertilize the pasture, I only feed the cows when the pasture's growing. But I can feed the cows year round and fertilize the pasture, because when God designed a cow, he designed this great creature who's actually really good at conserving his own range if you manage him. He's only going to utilize about 20 to 30% of what he intakes in his nutritional makeup. The rest of it is made up from the bugs in his rumen. So by doing this, I feed the cows, and then the cows fertilize the pasture just like a fertilizer distributor going out there. So instead of having a 20-foot spread of fertilizer, I'm right at about 18 foot right here of urea coming out through urine and all other good manners coming out through the cow poop. And then because we have a lot of rain and a lot of that nitrogen gets volatile, that hay kind of acts as a diaper and it captures it. Now this pasture, I fed about 200 round rolls of hay in it. And when springtime came, there was no dead spots. The cows are now grazing that pasture off of their own fertility, and I did not spend one penny directly related to fertilizer, but I kept those cows fat and sassy all winter, and then they took care of my pasture. I call that a win-win. Now, so you're winning. You're managing your risk in your pasture. You're managing your cow herd. Everybody's healthy. There's still going to come a time where you have to work them. This is where a lot of things can go bad. Right down the road from me, there's about a $80,000 cattle facility that I was invited to help work a group of cows several years ago, and I was excited. I said, I can't wait. I've never worked that barn. I've heard about it. Can't wait. The man who was leasing the property, he said, you've never been in there. I said, no, I haven't. He says, well, let me tell you about that barn. It's a great place to die. And he told me the truth. A poor plan, poorly put into action, is going to have poor results. Cows have natural ability and natural instinct, and there are things that they just want to do. Give them the room to do it and let them think it's their idea. Don't try to push that chain. You will not win. I'm going to let that sink in for a minute, because there are a lot of people that think I got the bluff on this cow. You might, but you're not going to win. You only exist in that pen because the cow would rather get away from you rather than stomp you into that mud. Simple is better. Easy is best. I sincerely hope nobody recognizes this picture. I saw it this winter. I was hired to haul some cattle, and I got out there and I looked at it and I thought, wow, And I was working on a project, very similar problem, and I thought I'm going to use that because I put stock into what I saw here based off of where it is. This is a Temple Grandin designed sweep tub. And Dr. Grandin has done so much to benefit livestock handling, humane handling. It's phenomenal. But not all things are equal. I recognize the tub. I've worked tubs before. I thought this is great. Simple is better. This is simple. It's relatively safe. Easy is best. Remember that. They want the cows to go into the yellow door that's in the upper right hand of the screen. Where I'm standing is where the trailer backs up. A trailer is 6 foot wide. Those cows are going to come off the trailer pretty much single file. And they would line up and run right to that yellow door. Why did we put a sweep tub there to where the cows could turn around? All we did was complicate it. The closest, shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. There was no need to complicate this situation. Anytime you complicate it, you're going to make it harder. Rojo exists behind that electric wire because he thinks it's his idea. He doesn't want to touch it. Let the cows think it's their idea. Right here, we have cows thinking it's their idea, standing on the ground. Everybody's casual. The first time that has these cows had ever been in this working facility, first time it ever been used, and we had 40-something people there to see it. This is called a Medina hinge. This keeps cows secure, keeps me safe, keeps them safe, and it keeps everything working good. If you're going to have livestock, you have to have a way to contain them. We're getting close to I'm going to flip through some of these slides. Right here is where you can get in a lot of trouble. I'm in close proximity to this group of calves, but I want you to notice something. The calves are not doing anything unusual. They're actually just circling around me. They want to do that naturally. Everything is copacetic in this picture except for one. This guy right here. I didn't take this picture. I just found it on my telephone last night. But it's a good picture to understand that even though everything was flowing all right, I was focused on the problem of that calf. Now, if you'll notice, my weight is on my back left leg. I'm actually taking a step back. My right hand is fixing to go up to where he can see it. And when he can see my hand, he's going to instinctively turn left to follow the rest of that group. But if I rush up on him, all he's going to do is kick the stew out of me. knowing what's going on in that situation, always being aware of the risks that are there. You see the picture again, you can see him a little bit more clear. Everybody else has direction, but the one calf. Ironically, that one calf, he's a number 3. Your number 3s are always your problems. So here we are again. They're just circling, and we're going to kind of speed up. Sometimes plan A doesn't work. Sometimes plan B doesn't work. You need to be flexible. This calf had an abscess on its jaw that we're going to lance it and treat him so he doesn't get an infection any worse. But everything I had to restrain him in this makeshift chute that we made in the middle of this pasture had fallen out. Thank the Lord for little Debbie's and a big belt. Plan B or whatever part of the alphabet, we got it done. You need to be flexible. Cows are a lot like children. Their brains in their butt. If you take a cow's tail, turn him up like this, it puts the brakes on him. He doesn't want to move, he doesn't want to kick. This is real important to know. If you take the cow and lay it over the tail, lay it over its side, that puts him in gear and it'll make him go forward. You learn this trial and error. Hopefully you keep your teeth. You keep doing the thing over and over and over and implementing that plan. It's going to work. You have to keep improving. Your milestones can become monuments. They're just moments, but make every one of them count. This is a little Tater. She's now graduated from holding calf's legs to now she's the castrator. She's 6 years old. I'm real serious about my girls growing up right. But when she castrates one, she improves the herd because now we've got a steer to cut, which makes revenue that makes those ribeyes. And we did not put him back in the gene pool. Instead, we turned him into a liquid asset, which then makes the best better. When you say risk, always remember that that risk is there because there is the potential for the reward. There's a potential for a gain. When you implement that system and you see those good decisions start multiplying, it gets better. Now Gus has graduated from the pedal tractor to he's now operating the 75 horse New Holland. Sitting on my lap, of course. He's too short to reach the clutch and the brake steel. You need to look at your livestock operation, see the strengths and the weaknesses, document it. Good stock always pays you money and saves you money. Native cattle will always perform better. If it does not appreciate, it is not an investment. Good health is priceless. Never take it for granted. Find those that you can trust. Find those that you can sharpen your skills with. Find somebody that's been there before. Talk with them and learn. Manage, 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 manage. Stop and be aware of what's coming down the pike. Do not rush a situation to get your teeth kicked out. If plan A doesn't work, be prepared to do something else. The cow does not care. Always look for the best solution. When you make good decisions, they compound into more good decisions. Every good decision that you make turns your best into your better. When you do that, constantly be looking for a way to be more efficient at doing it and to improve your methods. Never, ever, ever give up on your stupid dreams. Everywhere there's a risk, you have the reward. This picture where Gus is evaluating those heifers has taken 10 years in the making that grew in to replacement heifers out of a very bad situation where their mothers wintered on bulldozer tracks to now being the showcase of our entire herd. When you see it come together, it makes it all worth it. All right, Miss Aisha.
Thank you so much, Jody. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all those beautiful pictures. I just want to say that I have been on Mr. Reyer's farm, and he really, really, really truthfully takes pride in what he does with the piney wood cattle. There aren't many piney wood cattle farmers in the state of Mississippi, and he just loves what he does, and it shows. You see the pictures, you see the animals are beautiful, but all of this comes from very strategic and a very learned process of risk management. So I hate to say it, but Felicia did have to jump off. So I'm gonna just close us out here. Again, thank you, Mr. Reyer. I've posted his website in the chat box. Um, and I've also posted just a few places you can go to collect some NCAT ATTRA resources. There's the YouTube channel. There's also the NCAT ATTRA website that you can visit. We have over 300 publications, several videos, podcasts, blogs, webinars, things like that on our website. So I encourage you all to definitely check those out. Part two of both the organic high tunnel risk management workshop and this livestock risk management workshop will be next week on Wednesday and Thursday, same time, 10 a.m. to about 11:30, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. So if you have not already received the invite for that via email, it will be published on the website or it may come out in the email blast. It'll be on several of our platforms. So just be on the lookout for that. If you have any questions that you like to ask Mr. Reyer right now, I can open the floor for some questions. And if not, like I said, I did post his email in the chat. So please feel free to reach out to him, ask him any questions. I'm sure Mr. Reyer, he doesn't mind questions. He loves those things. And I hate that we weren't able to host this workshop on his land because again, it is beautiful. His cows are beautiful. His land is beautiful. He has a loving farm family and they're all at one with their land, and it's just a really beautiful thing to see. But until later, I guess I could close this workshop out, and please feel free to ask any questions.
Aisha, we every Labor Day we actually put on a hands-on field day, and everyone's welcome. The information will be put it on the website, but those pictures of the calves and stuff, that is a hands-on. You can come out and you can try your hand at anything you want to, and it's a way to get people introduced to doing different techniques and keeping them safe, giving them the tools to do it correctly.
All righty. Well, if there's no more questions, thank you all for joining us today. Again, part two of these workshops will be next week, Wednesday and Thursday. And I hope to see you all again. Enjoy the rest of your day.